Did you see that he is putting what is he? He's banning gender changing surgeries, but Letitia James is threatening hospitals to continue to do those, the New York Attorney General?
There's going to be, I saw that, there's going to be so much of that.
So I mean,
in the
like,
next
what
few years.
grounds does she have to do that? Like, when it comes to state versus federal, can she tell hospitals to, continue doing medical procedures that the president's deeming illegal? I guess that ends up turning into like a Roe v. Wade situation eventually, right?
You never know. I mean, that is correct. It might, because Roe v. Wade was not based on any particular law. I mean, they went 14th Amendment, which the judges came down saying, well, that obviously means this about abortion. And well, I can't see that language in there. So you never know. You might find a judge who might say, well, 14th Amendment is somehow applicable here. I mean, unfortunately, with these judges, you never know how it's going to end. The only good thing that we've got going right now in terms of the judges, the whole judiciary, that whole side of things, is that the Supreme Court is not always, but on many of these questions is going to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's not 6-3. People say it's 6-3. It's not. It's sort of 5-4 at best.
Really?
Well,
Why is that?
John
Let's
Roberts
see.
is the chief justice, is sort of
Yeah.
I don't know, ever since the Obamacare, where he obviously went the other way. He's been very squishy. He started off pretty good when Bush 2 appointed him. He was pretty solid. I don't know what it was, I spent too much time in DC on the cocktail circuits or whatever. I don't know how it works, but he shifted way over to the left. And that, by the way, that's happened to a bunch of these guys when they came up to the Supreme Court. That suddenly there's another guy called David Souter, absolutely terrible. He was a Bush 1 appointee. Who kind of, as soon as he arrived in DC, he just went way over to the left. So you have Roberts, of course, and then Amy Coney Barrett is pretty squishy.
Wow.
Any of these emotional issues, she always sides with the leftists. So, but I think, and here's my prediction, and I hope I'm going to be right on this. The issue of whether the president is the source of all executive power, whether it flows from him, whether he's the one who delegates it, and hence he gets to decide these things if they're not specifically decided in some other way. What we mentioned earlier, that Congress passed a very specific law about doing something very specific. This is a pretty technical question, and it's rooted in the Constitution. And some of them have written about it in the past. And because it's technical and it's not overly emotional and so on, I think they will side with the idea that the president holds the executive power and that the bureaucrats do not hold it.
Right. And I mean, for God's sake, it's not even just sex changes in general, it's for minors. So she's fighting on behalf of making sure that hospitals can do sex changes for minors. So I think that even squishy conservative judges would probably go with that. But I mean, as it stands right now, how does this play out before it gets all the way up to the Supreme Court? Does she have the right to tell hospitals no, you could, you have to keep doing this, or even say that you're allowed to keep doing this if the president says it's not okay? Or is that also up for interpretation?
It's going to be decided by judges, and it's just going to go through the motions. It's just going to go feed its way through the system. But I do agree with you on these kinds of questions. Most of them, even Roberts, will probably, side with the no mutilation side. I think we can be pretty sure about that. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett got very squishy about anything to do with COVID. She was a big kind of lockdown person and all that. So when it comes to those kind of, I guess, emotional issues, or issues where there's this mass psychosis in the public, oh my goodness, COVID is so terrible and whatever, she's not reliable, and she's shown that. And even though obviously you have First Amendment and other rights involved, but no, she was very much with the COVIDians. This one, obviously, the mutilations and so on, the gender stuff, I think she'll be pretty solid. The executive power, I think she'll be solid. And then you have a couple of really, really solid ones. Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, Justice Gorsuch is very solid. And Kavanaugh, I don't know. I think some are disappointed in how solid he is, but, usually okay. So one thing that might mix things up a bit is, I don't want to digress too much here, but you got the possibility of Justice Thomas and Alito retiring at some point in the next 2 years.
Isn't Sotomayor kind of sick too? She's kind of in the last phase of this, but where she was even talking about stepping down to like Kamala again or something like that.
They did, and well, we don't know what her condition is and how bad it is and so on, but she will just hold on. I mean, Ruth Bader Ginsburg held on basically. Well, she held on until the day she died, and this will happen again because they don't want Trump to have a shot at replacing their seats. So.
Right.
I think it's going to be. I think Justice Thomas. He's been there for 40 years, almost 40 years. I mean, for 35 or so years, he deserves retirement if he wants that. And now's his chance, because who knows what's going to. I mean, after 2026, if for whatever reason the Senate is taken over by Democrats, well, then you can't get these guys passed anymore.
Right.
So if it's going to happen, you got to do it in the next 2 years, because you just don't know what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's that's something that's very underspoken about. So I would like to see him do that, actually. If you enjoyed the short clip, click right here to watch the full episode, and remember to subscribe to the channel. God bless.